past nearly 17 years, we've watched a lot of people arrive in Mexico full of excitement only to pack up and head back a year or two later.
So today we're talking about why that happens. What causes people to fall in love with Mexico and then leave?
We moved to Mexico back in December of 2008. What started as an experiment turned into a whole new life. After all these years, we can tell you honestly that we love Mexico and we love our life here. Let's start with what draws people in. The incredible food, the weather, the culture, the vibrant colors and warmth, both in people and in the way of life. Mexico has a rhythm that's completely its own, and it's easy to get swept up in it.
Why was Mexico so appealing for you?
I think for me personally, it was because as a kid growing up, I always went to Mexico for the summer to spend time with my grandparents and my aunts, my uncles, and all my cousins that were still living in the town where my dad grew up. So I always had a sense of connection to Mexico. In fact, I never wanted to go back to San Francisco. I always wanted to stay in Mexico. I think I felt like I had a little more freedom in Mexico than I did back home in San Francisco with my parents. Yeah, as a kid. I always got to do a little bit more because I was always with my cousins. So then they felt that I was totally safe because I was with her. So I've always had a connection to Mexico since I was a child, and I've always wanted to live here. So it was definitely a dream come true for me.
For me, it was a change of life. I really wasn't too happy with my career back home, and I also have a history of visiting my grandparents, not in Mexico, but in another Latin American country, in Guatemala. And so it felt very familiar to me, even though it's a different culture, really. Mexico and Guatemala aren't that similar. Primarily, it was the change of life and our dream of opening our own business. And doing it sooner rather than later. We weren't ready, but we just jumped right into it and have no regrets. But the cost of living is another huge factor for many people. For retirees, digital nomads, and people on fixed incomes, your money often goes a lot further here. And that was another reason why we decided to do it as well. Especially if you're earning in dollars or another strong currency. That can mean better housing, more travel, or just less financial stress.
And let's not forget the pace. Life tends to move a little slower here in a good way. Things feel more personal, more connected, meals take longer, conversations go deeper, and people tend to be more present and in the moment.
For many, that first year feels like a breath of fresh air. It's exciting, it's romantic, it's full of possibility. We've seen it time and time again. People fall head over heels for Mexico and say, why didn't I do this sooner? And that's kind of what we felt as well.
And honestly, we get it. We remember that feeling. It's easy to see why people make the leap.
But with any honeymoon, eventually the spark starts to fade and reality really sets in. By the way, if you're thinking about moving to a place like San Miguel de Allende, or you're just starting to explore your options, you're going to want to get our new ebook, A Local's Guide to San Miguel de Allende's Top Neighborhoods.
We break down 9 of our favorite neighborhoods, the pros, the cons, price ranges, walkability, what kind of lifestyle each area fits best, and more.
Whether you're planning a visit or narrowing down where you'd like to live, it's a great starting point. You can grab your copy using the link in the description below or by scanning the QR code on your screen.
Like any big move, that shine can fade. Once you've unpacked the boxes, figured out where to buy your groceries, and set up the utilities, everyday life starts to kick in, just in a different way.
We've seen people fall in love with their town, their neighbors, their chilaquiles, but then get frustrated with the things that they didn't plan for. Maybe it's the way things move, the paperwork, the internet speeds, or just feeling far from home.
That doesn't mean that Mexico failed them. And it definitely doesn't mean that they did something wrong.
It just means they came in with expectations that didn't really match their reality. And that gap can catch people off guard.
It's one thing to visit on vacation. It's another to build a life here. And that transition isn't always as smooth as people hope.
One of the most common challenges people face is adjusting to the pace of life here. Things just move slower, and for many that's part of the charm.
But if you're used to quick turnarounds, tight schedules, and customer service that comes with a smile and a 24-hour guarantee, you'll be in for a shock.
Appointments don't always happen on time. Paperwork might require a few extra trips or signatures, and mañana doesn't always mean tomorrow. Sometimes it means never.
It's not wrong, it's not lazy, it's just a different relationship to time. And if you can let go and flow with it, life here can be incredibly peaceful.
But if you resist it, if you're constantly pushing for things to happen the way they would back home, that friction can build up fast.
One example that we personally have of this is the paying of your bills. Because we're used to in the States that you get a monthly bill and you pay it. Well, here you're responsible to pay your bill even if you don't receive the bill. You have to figure out how to go to the website, print it out, or go to the office and ask for your bill if you don't get it in the mail, which a lot of the times you don't get them.
We haven't gotten our electricity bill in the mail for, it seems like years now.
Yeah. So you need to be responsible of when it's due and pay it. And for us, it means going to the website, printing it out, and then I pay it with my bank app. Well, a lot of times I'll go to try to print it and you can't print it. And you're like, well, I can't print it, then I'm not gonna pay it. But that's not how it works. So then Francisco will have to go all the way to the CFE office, wait for 45 minutes in line to talk to somebody who then does a little click, 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 click with her fingers. And then she says, okay, be on your way. And in about 30 minutes, you should be able to print your bill and you hope that when you get home, it works.
You have to trust them. You have to,
Yeah.
they can't show you anything. They just say, just try again in another 30 minutes to 2 hours and you should be fine.
And you've had to do this probably 2-3 times this year already. And it's a hassle, but you have to pay your bill. So it's a part of being frustrated, but you have to go with the flow and you just have to get things done.
And one day their system will improve and it'll get easier, but in the meantime, that's the way it is and we have to roll with it.
Yeah. So we've learned to slow down, to take deep breaths and just be okay with not getting everything done in one day. But it took some time. Transportation is another thing that catches people off guard, especially if they move to an area that isn't walkable.
We've met people who came here thinking they'd live without a car and ended up stuck, frustrated, or totally dependent on friends. And others do just fine without a car.
Some towns have great public transportation, others don't. And when you add pets into the mix, that's where it can get even trickier.
In many places, pets aren't allowed on public buses. I'd say in most places, pets are not allowed on public buses or rideshare services, and not all taxis are open to it either.
So unless you're in a highly walkable area or willing to spend extra on buses, taxis, or private drivers, you may find that having a car isn't just convenient, it's absolutely necessary.
We've known people who came here wanting a slower, simpler life, but underestimated how much they'd rely on transportation every day.
It's definitely doable without a car in the right place, but it's not universal. Do your homework and think about your routines, your vet visits, your groceries, your day trips. It adds up.
Even in well-developed places like San Miguel, infrastructure can be hit or miss.
One block might have strong internet, reliable electricity, and good water pressure, while the next street over has none of those things.
Power outages, low water pressure, slow internet, these aren't everyday problems, but they're not rare either. And when they happen, you just kind of have to roll with it.
In fact, we lost power yesterday. About an hour at like, what, 10 in the morning?
Yeah, it was in the middle of breakfast.
The power went out, luckily. And it only took an hour for it to come back, but it was just one of those things that we're just like, oh, well, it happens, and we're just happy it's back.
Mm-hmm. And we have electric ovens. We haven't had the misfortune of the electricity going out while we're trying to bake something or roast something, but it could definitely happen.
Yeah. And then there are the charming old homes. Thick adobe walls, wood beam ceilings, beautiful tile work that don't always come with heating or air conditioning.
It's easy to romanticize those older homes, and we love them too, but they often require some adjustments. Cold mornings, hot afternoons, drafty, leaky windows. You have to be okay with a little discomfort sometimes.
In fact, our house is newly built, but we built back in the day where everything was still being made handmade. So all the windows are handmade, all the doors are handmade. Now you can buy them double pane and, produced. And the other day we had a really big rainstorm. It rained really hard. And when it rains like that and the rain is going sideways, it came in through all the windows, all the doors on our front wall here. And it was just part of what happens. And you just dry it up, and move on. And even newer homes can come with quirks. We've heard of stories of luxury houses with fancy finishes, but no grounding on the electrical outlets. It's more common than you think here.
It's all part of the learning curve. If you're handy or patient, you'll do fine. But if you're expecting plug-and-play comfort, it can be an adjustment.
If you're planning a move to Mexico and want to see what life here really looks like, we'd love to host you at our boutique in Antigua Capilla, here in San Miguel de Allende.
It's a great home base while you explore, meet locals, and check out different neighborhoods, or take day trips to nearby cities like Guanajuato and Querétaro.
Just scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to learn more.
Let's talk about something that rarely shows up in the glossy brochures. In fact, it never shows up in the glossy brochures: the noise.
Mexico has its own soundtrack, and even in the most peaceful neighborhoods, silence is not always part of the package, at least not every night.
We're talking roosters at dawn, barking dogs, fireworks at all hours, church bells, parades, gas trucks with loudspeakers, people on their bikes blowing whistles for sharpening your knives, and often all that in a single weekend.
You forgot neighbors who play loud music.
And neighbors who play loud music.
Even in places that feel quiet at first glance, life happens out loud here. Celebrations, processions, spontaneous fiestas. The energy is beautiful, but it's not subtle.
We've had guests at our inn ask if there's a festival going on. And the answer is usually yes, but we're not even sure which one it is.
Some people can adjust very quickly and others just can't. And if you're sensitive to noise, it can be a real challenge. Earplugs, white noise machines, and a sense of humor go a long way. And we're speaking from experience that you really just need to learn to use the tools that you have to block out the noise when you don't want to hear it.
To us, it's part of the charm, but we've seen people pack up and leave because they couldn't get used to it.
So just something that you should keep in mind is tranquility here doesn't always mean quiet.
Now let's talk about something a little more personal: family. One of the hardest parts of living abroad is being far away from the people you love. You miss birthdays, graduations, holidays, and sometimes the little moments in between hurt the most.
You can fly back, but it's not the same as being there day to day or being able to show up at a moment's notice.
Moving abroad is definitely a selfish act, and some people experience guilt about abandoning the people who were there for them back home.
We've seen friends wrestle with this, especially when aging parents need more help or grandkids start arriving. Today it's easier than ever to stay connected. There's FaceTime, there's WhatsApp, there's family group chats, but it's not the same as sitting around the dinner table.
Over time, that emotional distance can weigh on you. For some people, it becomes the biggest reason they go back.
I know for us, it's hard on the holidays. The major holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, birthdays, those are hard because you want to be there with your family and you miss them. So those days really stand out. But you think we'd get used to it after all these years, but you just don't.
On the other hand, we seem to be more connected to the people that we really care about.
Yes.
We seem to call them more often and
I talk
communicate with them
talk to
more
my
often.
family more often than I would if we were living in San Francisco and living right, near them. So yeah, it's a give and take. So it's not about regretting the move, it's just about recognizing what matters most. And sometimes that's being close to family again.
The foreign community can be one of the best parts of moving to Mexico for some, but also one of the most fleeting.
You meet amazing people, you build connections quickly. There's an instant bond because you're all figuring things out together and you've all chosen to move to a foreign country, so you automatically have something in common.
Someone announces they're moving back to Oregon or Florida or Texas, or suddenly they're off to Portugal.
It can start feeling like a revolving door. You just got your dinner crew together and before you know it, someone's hosting a goodbye party.
That kind of turnover can be tough, especially if you're looking for deep, long-term friendships. It's not impossible, but it takes time and patience.
And it helps to branch out. The most grounded foreigners we know make an effort to connect with locals, not just other foreigners. That's what really builds a sense of belonging.
We're lucky to have found our rhythm here, but we've seen how hard it can be when your social circle is always shifting. For us, we enjoy meeting new people. It's part of the fun.
We meet people all the time, new people that come and go through our B&B.
Yeah, and we stay in touch with a lot of
A
you.
lot of
Yeah,
them
yeah.
are still friends. We become friends on Facebook and we send messages throughout the year, so that's kind of nice. So if you're moving to Mexico and hoping to find your people, you probably will. Just don't be surprised if those people eventually move away. If you're planning a move and want to talk it through with someone who's been through it, we also offer one-on-one consultation calls.
Whether you've got questions about residency, neighborhoods, banking, culture shock, we've helped dozens of people navigate the transition.
Just scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description if you'd like to book a time with us.
Let's talk about safety, because for a lot of people, this is the biggest mental hurdle when considering a move to Mexico.
The reality is that most of Mexico is very safe, especially in the places where foreigners tend to live. But perception is powerful, and news headlines can plant a seed of fear even if you've never had a single issue.
We personally feel very safe here, but we also stay aware of what's going on in the country and in our community, just like anywhere in the world.
I think because we're city people too. We grew up in a city. We're more city savvy. So I'm always looking behind me to see who's walking behind me and how close are they and what's going on around my surroundings. So I'm always aware, and we take precautions. We don't wear flashy jewelry, and we don't do all of those things. So
Yeah.
But for some people though, that underlying tension never really goes away. They might read a news story and start to wonder if they've made the right decision. We've seen friends leave not because anything happened, but because they didn't feel at ease.
It's also worth mentioning that safety can vary dramatically depending on where you live, your lifestyle, and the people you surround yourself with. We always say, if you're not into drugs, you're not taking them, you're not using them, you're not selling them, you're not hanging out with people who are, you're not going to be involved in those kinds of crimes.
Yeah, but I think that can go in any city, in any
Anywhere
part
in
of
the
the
world.
world.
Yeah, for sure.
So it just depends on your lifestyle too, and like maybe even the neighborhood that you choose could make the difference. So the best advice that we can give is do your research. Visit the places that you're considering, talk to people who actually live there. Don't just rely on the headlines.
And once you're here, stay informed, stay smart, and trust your instincts. You'll get a feel for what's normal and what's not pretty quickly.
Another big factor for many people, especially retirees, is healthcare. Mexico has excellent healthcare in many places. You'll find modern hospitals, highly trained doctors, and surprisingly affordable prices, especially if you're paying out of pocket.
We've had great experiences with doctors here, 2 major surgeries just this year, but we also understand healthcare is a very, very personal topic, and comfort plays a big role.
As people get older or face chronic conditions, they may start to feel more drawn to the medical system they grew up with. Even if the care here is good, it's not always familiar or in the language that you're used to.
I think that might be the biggest reason there is the language barrier. Most doctors, most specialists do speak English, but not all do. And I think that's what intimidates a lot of people as well. For others, it's wanting to be close to family during times of illness and recovery. And for a few, it's just about feeling at home when it comes to something as serious as your health.
We've known people who moved back to the US or Canada after several years in Mexico, not because they didn't love it here, because health became a priority and they felt more comfortable navigating it back home. Also for many, it's Medicare, and they want to go back to use their Medicare.
Yeah.
So that can also play a big part if you get sick.
It's okay to pay out of pocket for things that are not that serious and things that you can just handle in a single doctor visit, but for anything major, surgeries and that kind of thing, people with Medicare choose to go back home for that.
Makes sense. So it's not necessarily about the quality of care. We can vouch for that. It's more about what you need to feel safe and supported as you age.
So with everything we've talked about, the highs and the challenges, who actually thrives in Mexico?
In our experience, it's the people who come with curiosity, the ones who are open to learning, adapting, and letting go of how things should be.
If you expect Mexico to work like the US or Canada, just warmer and cheaper, you're probably going to be frustrated.
But if you come ready to observe, to listen, to ask questions instead of making assumptions, you'll find that Mexico gives back so much more than it takes.
Flexibility helps, So does a sense of humor. You've got to be okay with surprises, good and bad. Delays, detours, noise, beauty, joy, sometimes all in the same afternoon.
It also helps to focus on relationships rather than checklists. Mexico runs on connection, not efficiency. Often it's more about who you know. If you value that, you'll thrive here.
We've met people from all walks of life who have made this work. Retirees, young families, remote workers. But we all have one thing in common. We didn't come here to recreate our old lives. We came here to build new lives.
And if that sounds like you might just fall in love with life here.
Mexico isn't for everyone, and that's okay.
And if you give it a try and decide to go back or to move on, that's not a failure. It just means that you figured out what works best for you.
But if you embrace the culture, the quirks, and the pace of life here, Mexico has a way of getting under your skin in a good way.
If you're planning a move and want to talk through your plans with someone who's been through it, we also offer one-on-one consultation calls.
Whether you're curious about residency, lifestyle, costs, or just want help deciding where to land, we'd love to help you make the transition with more clarity and less stress.
You'll find the link to book a session in the description below.
And let us know in the comments, what's something that would make you stay in Mexico or leave?
Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.